Hi, welcome to AI Trust Talks. I'm your host, Emma Johnson, and I'm excited to have you here. Artificial intelligence is changing the way we live, work, and connect, but with great power comes great responsibility. That's why this podcast exists, to deep dive into the critical conversations about AI safety, ethics, and responsible use. Every episode will explore the real-world challenges and opportunities AI brings, from helping business owners and corporate leaders make better decisions, to empowering data scientists to create responsible solutions, to guiding parents on how AI impacts their children's safety. This podcast is for anyone who cares about building a future we can all trust. So whether you're here to learn, debate, or just stay ahead of the curve, I invite you to join me on this journey as we shape the future of AI together. This is AI Trust Talks, where we build trust in technology, one conversation at a time. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Andrea Prazakova to AI Trust Talks. Andrea is a visionary leader at the intersection of human-centered AI, ethical innovation, and inclusive technology. As the founder and CEO of BrainGym, Andrea champions the integration of advanced technologies like AI, Web3, and blockchain with a steadfast commitment to human well-being and ethical considerations. With a rich background that includes serving as Senior Vice President at Mastercard Foundry and ESG for the EMEA region, Andrea has been instrumental in pioneering sustainable fintech solutions and driving ESG initiatives across emerging markets. She's also the co-founder of the Space Uncensored podcast, amplifying the voices of women in the space industry and bridging the gap between the dynamic space economy and other markets. Andrea's thought leadership extends to her membership in the Forbes Technology Council, where she contributes insights on AI readiness, digital transformation, and the future of web traffic. Andrea, thank you so much for joining AI Trust Talks today. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
I'm so excited, Emma, because this is the first AI podcast I'm on. I've been in so many podcasts. This is the first AI, so I have almost like goosebumps. It's really, really cool moment. So, thank you so much for having me. Really delighted.
Thank you. And I want to start off today by talking about your journey into technology, into finance. Can you share your earlier experiences in your career and how they really influenced where you are today?
I started in banking in 1992, so there was always touch of tech. But, you remember at that time, obviously, the servers were the size of a room. So very early, I learned how to code. At that time, it was in Lotus Notes and connect servers. So I was always surrounded by tech, despite the fact that I was a branch manager and then, headed sales. So my career was always tied by technology, and I was always fascinated. I love math and, everything around data. So as I've been growing and living in different places, if it was Austria or Slovakia or Indonesia or in Africa for 10 years, the tech was always part of my journey. So I would never see that the tech somehow sneaked in as I was, on my way. But I always tried to utilize the technology as much as I could to my abilities and capabilities, and also teach myself, new stuff around tech and how it can optimize and augment myself and make my work easier, make the customer experience better. So yeah, I think I'm born in tech, if I can say so.
I'm so glad I've got another 90s baby joining banking in the 90s. Very exciting. So what motivated your career move, and how did your role evolve around ESG and innovation?
If you look at my trajectory, obviously, I've been in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, now here. And I've been 23 years in banking, like a banking QR code on my shoulder. But I was very privileged that I was able to go from working in a branch to leading sales and channel management, heading customer experience, leading a bank for retail and SME, then coming here and obviously running big ecosystems and innovation. The story with ESG is a really funny story because I don't know if I can say it out loud. I was not ever interested in ESG actually. I thought, it's very like, boho kind of area. Then there was an opportunity in Mastercard, and my boss told me, is it something which you would be interested in to put on top of what you're already doing, which was innovation, gaming. And I said, why not? It's a new stuff to learn. And then I started to dig deeper into it, and I've found it really fascinating. I did 1 year at MIT for Chief Sustainability Officer, which really taught me a lot. It also taught me what I don't want to do in sustainability, which is very important to always know what you like and don't like about the topic. And it added really to what I'm doing today and also across the years, that I'm looking at everything I do from a sustainability lens. And I don't mean it from a carbon footprint perspective, but it's human sustainability, system sustainability, planet sustainability. And always think, start with sustainability of yourself, be selfish, start with yourself, then your career, then your community, and then the planet.
Yeah.
Maybe the planet fearing people don't like to hear that, but I think that the best thing is to start with the humans and then obviously work yourself upwards.
Yeah. And we've been talking a lot about longevity in the AI space and how the criticality of humans intersect with that. Do you want to tell us a bit about your views on that?
That's a tricky one, right? But I love the topic because often, when you talk to them about longevity, so the only thing that they imagine, because now every Instagram is full of saunas and ice baths and, take this and this supplement and David Beckham. And I think longevity has multiple different facets, right? And it's a facet of human beings, and it's a facet of human beings in connection to AI. So what I mean by that? So, just today, obviously, the Google announces new releases, and one of the releases, there are multiple and some incredible stuff. One of the releases was the new VO 3, which obviously completely replaces animation, but it's adding voice to it. So, and I wrote a short article about it that, if you think about it, there is about 500,000 people in the entertainment industry, from actors and supporting staff, millions of YouTubers. What we saw on what the Google showed today is that AI can exactly replace, and it's almost unrecognizable for human eye that this is generated by AI. And this is their first release. So imagine what will they do. So for me, if I connect it to longevity and say, oh, we are so excited, this is so cool, you can have, doing it by AI. But imagine you and I would not be sitting here. And then let's say this is your full-time job, right? Being a host and being a podcaster. And you would be fully replaced by AI. But now is a question, will it be the digital twin of you, or will it be something completely AI generated, which would be completely adjusted from the way how it will look, speak, ask question, to be tested by the audience by another AI, that it gets high rating. So my question around longevity AI is to say, what will happen to all these humans? Are we mentally prepared for it? Are we economically prepared for it? What are the companies doing? Everybody is going now after augmentation, automation. But if I automate this process and there are two people doing this, what am I doing with these two people? Because maybe they are main breadwinners and they have children and wives and mothers and fathers they provide for every single month. So I think that the longevity is not purely physical and mental, but it truly is, sustainability of humankind now in connection with technology.
Yeah. And this is really an important point. You've touched on mental health. For me, I'm a strong supporter to say, if you give me the tools that enhances my productivity so I can focus on bigger ticket items, or I can get home on time and I can do more with less hours, meaning I can improve my own mental well-being with using some of these technologies. What is the negative or the flip side to that, though? How do we negatively impact mental health when it comes to technology and where AI is going for longevity?
That's a really nice question. How much time do we have? So let's maybe slice it, because you almost ask multiple questions in one. As we are introducing these tools, if we really make people work less, right? We give you all these tools, but do we really expect you then to, or allow you to then go to home at 3 o'clock instead of 5, because the AI will finish the work for you? Or are we just increasing the load for you with different tasks? And I think that's, again, what will be the governance in the companies from an HR perspective, working together with technology and transformation to manage this. Now, that's, I think, point number one, which I don't think we have an answer for yet. And it really depends on individual companies, right? Point number two is around the longevity of you and your mental health. Now, I think that for anybody who is now a little bit deeper in AI, people get really FOMO, because every day is something new and you feel really behind. Sometimes I have to, on the weekend, say, I'm not reading any AI news, because it really impacts you, right? Now, imagine then you are in a position where AI will start to truly replace you. And maybe that was the skills you have. What does it do to you? You will start to question, what will I do? How will I survive? What will happen to my family? So I think that's a negative aspect. The positive aspect with AI and human longevity is that I think AI is much more empathetic than human being because it's programmed that way, right? It's set up being empathetic. I have, for example, my little own, uh, um, mm, I would say, I wouldn't call it psychologist or psychotherapist, whatever it is, but I have my own AI, which obviously talks to me every day and reminds me to be grateful and what am I grateful for. And, these small nudges and discuss with me things around kids and work, and it's really really helpful, things which I would not actually talk to a human being because they look at you very narrow, right? If you talk to a doctor, the doctor has one opinion, and maybe he or she is trained or on traditional psychotherapy or group therapy or whatever it is, but it's one lens. Here you have like 1 million lenses helping you with it, right? So I feel that the role of AI can have a very positive impact, but it needs to be very nicely fine-tuned and trained, which can help people out of, depression and anxiety. It also can cause it, right? But I think that there are it's a double sword in that space. It's, on the third pillar, I think AI as technology can really help us in longevity physically, right? I think what I mean by that, if you look at it, I mean, we all wear some rings, some watches, whatever, but nothing is truly interconnected, right? So I built my own personal GPT where I plug in all my biomarkers. So my blood test, my hormonal test, my results from my Aura ring and so on. So to get constant reading and indication, what is my biological age, what is my psychological age, where my hormones are, how does it, I have all my supplements inside, but I'm doing it because I really want to live long. But these are things which I believe in the next couple of years will be very common for everybody. That means that people will not need to build their own small GPTs, but I think that's an incredible power that, today, you and I, if we go to a doctor, we are women, so they will maybe do some test and say, okay, your hormonal level of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone are in here. Here's one tablet and do this. And then come in 3 months, right? But maybe you need 2 tablets. Maybe I need 1. Maybe the tablets don't work with me because everything is very much, almost one size fits all. And the intake of the biomarkers is not regular enough, right? This is just one example, or, so what I feel where I am so excited about AI, it's in the area of healthcare and education, where it can really be personalized. Where, women especially, where there's so little research about in female data, right? There is especially of women over, let's say, 40. I think that there will be some really incredible breakthroughs. So sorry, such a long answer to the question.
Great.
But I feel it's so difficult to have simple answers to this because there's also so much we don't know.
Yeah. And I do think that advancing medical care, or especially for women where there is that lacking in the market today, it's really, really key that we can use this kind of technology to drive that. So we've talked a bit about AI and benefiting humans. When we talk about human-centered AI and the ethical innovation of it, I just want us to deep dive a bit into how would you define human-centered AI and why is it crucial in today's technology landscape?
I feel it's the human-centered AI. It's a bit misused word, and maybe I should take it out of my human-centric AI, a specialist as well title, because even though we say we should build human-centered AI, it means that when we build AI, we always think about the human first. Will what we build add value to humanity? How we build it, does it avoid biases? The data which we're using, is it clean enough? How do we avoid situation which would harm humans and put some breakers inside? So I think that human-centered is really to ask yourself, if I do this, do I do it because it will only add profits to somebody? Or will it actually add value to a human being, right? And I think that's what I mean that I mean, for me personally, everybody can have a different, and then it goes across product development, governance, proposition of the solution you are building. So what is the reason why you're building it? Are you building it because you want to spill more legal agreements and can bill faster hours and then you will not need 30 lawyers. What will you do with the 30 lawyers, right? So yes, there is efficiency, but I think that when you do it, companies should be asked, what is the side product of it? And maybe I'm too naive, but to say, okay, if you optimize your company to a level where I was on a discussion with a woman who actually did it like a month ago. She fired 70% or let go 70% of her employees, right? Because she doesn't need them anymore. She
Wow.
deployed agentic technology, used AI agents for workflows and so on. And she said she was very sad because they worked with her for many years, but ultimately she did it because she's an entrepreneur. She looks at the bottom line. Today, from a governance perspective, any companies who are being augmented and automated, they have no responsibility to anybody to ensure that somebody looks after the humans they let go. They just let the humans go and say, okay, you do what you do you. Upskill yourself, file your own new job, create your own new job, start a company. And I think that maybe was acceptable in the past where it was, not as fast, but the speed which is in front of us, I think that human-centered AI should cover also the side effects of AI, which are there.
You raise such a valid point, and I do think that there is a bit of a misuse when we talk about human-centered AI. Oh, let's build AI for humans, but it's not always actually thinking about the repercussions of AI as well. So it's a really important point you raise. And so what are some of the ethical challenges you've encountered in AI development, and how did you or do you address them?
I love this one. So, I always like when people say, "But AI is so biased." And AI is us, right? It's a mirror, right? It's like, so my husband is South African Indian, so he's obviously brown. My kids are like cappuccinos. And of course, there are biases and discrimination against women, against people of color. But it's not that the machines just woke up and say, oh, I don't like Indian people, right? Or I don't like African people. Or I think that women are less competent than men. But it's the data sets which the AI was trained on, right? If you look at literature, movie, and so on, right? The same like we have very little data on women, more data on men. So I feel that one of the challenges which we have when we train these models is to say, what is the data you feed it? And have control mechanism where today with agentic AI, you can build additional agent, obviously controlling our agents to say, review the data sets, look at for these outliers. I mean, we saw there was I think 2 years ago when this whole started, there was a very funny where Google was fine tuning it and they had founding fathers and they were of color, which was historically incorrect, right? So I think that one of the areas to really address is not to be upset that AI is biased, but to find ways how to clean the data sets. And in anything we do from today on, make sure that the data sets are not biased and that they are clean, right? And so it's a control mechanism. It's a quite an interesting work inside of that. So I think that that's one of the areas which I feel it's really critical to look at. It's how to build it, and then obviously as you build it, to forgive it as well. I think that we are so unforgiving towards AI.
Yeah.
And I feel that we forget again that AI so far still is an extension of us, right?
Yeah.
So we cannot expect that it will be 100% correct. It will hallucinate. We hallucinate as humans too. We also lie and do things which, our humans don't like. So look at the AI. Maybe it will be unpopular statement. Look at AI like I'm looking myself at the mirror, right? To say, what are the things I need to correct? What are the things which, I don't know? And maybe I will make up because I don't know. So I need to be told. If prompting is a really great example, people say, oh, it didn't give me what I want. That means you don't prime and prompt properly. If you say, look for this information, but also tell it, if you look only in sources like Forbes and Wired and, I don't know, KPM, whatever, right? If you don't find information which I ask you for in reliable sources, don't make it up.
Yeah.
And I think that we as human, you also need to learn how to interact with the AI. And I think that's a massive gap in adults and in children, right? But now everybody's tinkling with it, but we actually, it's like we are upset that it doesn't give us what we want, but we actually don't know what we're asking. And we don't formulate what the output should be. So the machine, because it tries to please us, often makes up stuff which is not real.
Yeah. I agree. And I think you've touched on quite a few things there around the human created that data in the first place, or that bias in the first place, and now we're looking for an excuse to blame the machine when in actual fact it was based on historical biases. So how do you think organizations can ensure AI and AI systems are inclusive and free from bias, or have mitigated bias enough to an acceptable level?
I like the second part of your question, which says the word mitigated, right? So I think I would start on the one side where you say, let's ensure that all your employees are properly trained.
Mm.
And I don't think we see it enough, right? There are majority of companies are training the experts, an expert group, which they want to work on the AI models with the AI companies and so on automation, improvements, efficiencies. But everybody, let's say you have 1,000 employees, everybody in the company now should go through a rigorous AI training every month or every day for 20 minutes. My company is called BrainGym. I am a bit of a health freak, so I believe that the same way you exercise your muscles, you should go and exercise your head and learn something new every day. So companies should say, if Emma, you work for us 8 hours a day, we require you half an hour of the day to learn something new in AI. And I think that's step number one, because then people will be more aware, right? Second is, don't just consume the model, but actually have either external experts or built in internal expertise, which will help you to make sure, if you feed it your own data, to look what type of data are you feeding it, right? I'm so curious. I think McKinsey just did it, but they uploaded it was in the news that they uploaded 100 years of data sets about their customers, all the sets. And I was just thinking, wow. So obviously the easy way would be to use some computer vision and some recordings and just plug it all in. But I would love to see a case study. How did they clean up the data in any way? Because the model cannot differentiate between good strategy and bad strategy. Don't take me by my words, but I'm sure that there have been a lot of strategies and a lot of data sets which are just not true or are not real or are not reliable, like anywhere in the world. So it would be really interesting to say, as I am a company and I'm starting to do this, is, do I have somebody who is an expert in data? If I don't, can I get somebody and have advice on it? What data I need, where do I get the data from, how do I keep them up to date, how do I clean the data, how do I look for biases in the data, how do I look for irregularities, if there are irregularities, what should happen to the data. So I think that piece of the work is really, the data piece of the work is super, super critical. And that's the old data. Now, that's the old data sets which you train. And now every second as you're interacting with a model, you're obviously adding training data into the beast, right? So how, as the data is coming in, what is the mechanism do you clean this data as well? How do you do it? Who is deciding what is a good set and what is not a good set? Where are biases? So I think that's actually a really beautiful piece of work which all of the companies need to start to look at.
Agreed. And you've touched a bit on kind of accountability and where the organization or a company has an accountability to clean up that data, but also as individuals to be part of that journey as well. So you've touched briefly on BrainGym, and I want to deep dive into it. So what inspired you to establish this, and what is it about? And can you tell us more about where it's going?
BrainGym, I touched a little bit why the name is called BrainGym. I'm trying to take my brain to gym every day like I take my physical body. It's really to build capacity around artificial intelligence in companies and individuals. That's in a nutshell. And it touches on multiple different areas. One is, I would say, in a closed environment where you have a lot of leaders in the C-suite who either don't have time for it because they're so busy to run their businesses, or they don't want to admit that they don't understand the AI models, right? Or anything AI. So really to help them to understand what is it about, where is it going, how they can use it. And then for obviously traditional companies and help them to build the capacity inside the house, right? So one of the products which I have, it's a AI sprint where the companies gets inside employees, and then you as an employee evaluate your own job. You have to have balls to actually do that, but after you learn how to prompt and some generics, you say, okay, now Emma, let's write down and have an interaction with AI about your job day to day, and then analyze with the AI what parts of your job can be automated or augmented, and who is it doing already, and what type of systems and processes they use. Let's say then you will be, oh my God, Andrea, I mean, 60% what I do actually can be augmented and 30 automated. That's kind of scary, right? So you are now a little bit freaked out, right? Then you go into a stage where you say, okay, the ideation, let's ideate what would be the next job you would do. What are your skills? What are your capabilities? What are your passions? Could you evolve the job you have by seeing what's already automated, how it can expand, or would you like to do something else? And what would be the training plan coming out of it? The beauty of it is that the company obviously not only upskills the employees, but they come out with two data sets, right? One is data sets of, let's say, 40 different jobs, assessment, what they can automate and augment, which could feed in theoretically into some of the AI strategy, that's for the strategic part. And the second is input for your HR to say, what could be my upskilling and reskilling strategy for the next maybe 2 years for some of these people who really want to do that, right? So it's really, enabling and empowering people with the knowledge. I always like to teach, I always love, I think until now, including the work which I did at Mastercard, I through my doors past 2,500, 2,600 people
Wow.
skilling and training. I really enjoy it. And it's great to see. I did 2 weeks ago a session for the Dubai Future Foundation. I'm really grateful. They, invited me to run, and we had from entrepreneurs to kids from GEMS. And in the end of 4 hours, they had their own GPTs, they had their own agents, and they came in. Some of them didn't even know how to prompt and prime. And I see that if you leave and you at least excited, you don't need to worry about governance and cyber breaches on your day one. That's that just start to understand what can it do for yourself. How can you create your own company? Maybe my kids use it for project, for coding, and it's. I think it's really powerful. So, but the second part of BrainGym is we include into it longevity practices, which is so far a bit disappointing because nobody wants the longevity practices into it. So I really believe that if you go to this workshop as a C-suite, you should do some meditation, you should do some breath work, you should do, maybe sneak in session of biohacking. As I look at you holistically, right? I don't look at you as only Emma, who is an expert in AI, but I think about you as a woman and say, what is it what I can add to you that you are, happy and mindful and but the companies, they just, okay, we want the AI. We're not interested in, some ice baths and biohacking. It's not, what we want. So I hope that, the people will be more open to it and will look at their leaders and their employees also more holistically, and start to incorporate more longevity practices in some of these sessions. Not only like hardcore learn this, but get better as a human being.
I love how you practice what you preach as well, and you've really brought this into BrainGym and kind of focusing on the longevity side as well and bringing it to life.
No, I love it. I think that it's really life changing. I exercise every day. I have sauna and ice bath in my home, in my garage. So no place for the cars. The cars are in the heat. It's really incredible. I'm still, practicing mindfulness and hypnotherapy and my list of supplements is actually this. Plus, I do all the tests, but it's critical. And I have the luxury. I think that's also very important to say. I have a luxury that number one, I'm aware because I was so curious about it. And number two, I have a luxury that I actually can afford it. And many people cannot. And I think that the ones who can, it's crime that they don't do it.
I think you touched on another really important point around delivering training for people that then appreciate, but not only appreciate by telling you they enjoyed it, but also have taken action. And I was delivering an innovation workshop a couple of months ago, and someone just recently reached out to me and said they enjoyed it so much that they've now gone and actually signed up to an MIT course. And that for me just gives me the buzz to keep doing what I do and spreading that news.
I
Just
love
to,
that.
yeah.
It reminded me of a story. I did a keynote for a company which is doing oil rigs. There's a whole world around oil rigs, which I had no idea about, right? There were like 150 people in the audience, and one of the question was, how they get their teams. And one of the things which I used to do in Mastercard is that we had in a week, we would have this like 30 minutes or 45-minute session where we would always come as a team and say, what did I learn about AI, and teach each other. And it could be even small things like, I remember Dina came into one of the calls and taught us things which Microsoft Teams can do with AI, which we didn't even use, So it doesn't need to be always like a rocket scientist. And so I said it on the stage. I said, just you don't need to change the whole world. If you have a team of 5 people, just get them into a room, say, guys, from next week, learn one thing. And then on Friday, we always meet and we tell each other what we learned, and then we learn from each other. So a post where I was tagged on from one of the people who attended, and he started to do it for the people who work in oil rigs.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is like, it just made my day, I
Yeah.
think you felt probably the same way after your workshop, right?
Yeah, it is. It's just so nice when you realize that you have made an impact on someone and spreading that good joy. So you've had BrainGym for a couple of years now, and
No, since August.
since August,
It's
right?
new baby. It's not walking even.
Wow,
It's just crawling.
I love it. And you're moving into a new company.
Yes, so I have BrainGym, obviously, where I do the trainings and keynotes and support on AI strategies. And I'm somebody who has constant ideas. I think that's one of my biggest strengths and biggest weaknesses. It's like really crazy. Starting a company which is called Zufa AI. And I am grateful to one of my dearest friend, Doha, who came up with that idea. So Zufa is actually a priestess from the pre-books of Dune, who was fighting the machines not to take over humanity. So I find it so cool. So I'm a mother of 2, and guess what is the biggest issue for parents today with children?
Children using AI or staying on their laptops.
Yes, being on electronic devices. And you can see, schools are banning telephones. Everybody is panicking about screen time, and obviously do this, do that, do that. I believe that we can't stop the progression of the machine. It's impossible. I think it's a tsunami, right? It's very hard to. You might put some guardrails, which is good, but my kids are born in a digital age, right, and in a virtual age. So the solution which we're building is around managing what you watch, not how long you watch. And so we're currently in a process of patenting the tech, and I'm really excited about it. I think that I believe we will change life to better of many parents and many children. I think the worst nightmare of every parent is that the child looks at them when they play the game, they are in it with their friends, and the screen time hits in, and they look at their mother and say, "I hate you." Yeah, I'm sure many mothers and fathers feel the same pain. So it creates a lot of tension, and if I can contribute with my partners to eliminate some of this pain for parents and children, I think that would be my biggest dream.
That's very cool. And it's looking to monitor the content that the child can see. Is that the angle you're taking?
Think about it that, let's say my son would do some research. Many of these research require you to go on YouTube and watch something on YouTube, or go into a specific website. And let's say the time runs out, right? So he needs to always come and back for additional time. But I actually don't know if he goes on that site, if he watches some silly, he loves these videos where they clean like dogs' ears, and then over dog. I know the dogs are like really loving it, right? So if he watches this, or if he actually does the research, right? So we're really looking how can we have a tech which will monitor the content and manage the content instead of the time only.
Exciting times. And how does BrainGym approach the integration of technologies like AI, Web3, and blockchain in its training? So I know you're covering lots of different areas.
Yeah, I feel that, especially now with the AI, there is a lot of discussions around blockchain. And I'm not, not talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum and all of it. I'm really talking about blockchain as a technology. I feel that blockchain is really capable, and there need to be more education around that, what role it can play in AI, especially when you put AI on chain and agents on chain. What are the impacts on cybersecurity and data and so on? And obviously, Web3 itself, right, as we're moving into world of tokenization of real world assets, again, part of this education and capacity building is just to open your eyes to areas which you maybe thought are not for you. right? With tokenization of real world assets, right? Everybody just thinks about the, tokens which are on your cards, for example, tokenization. But what about your house, your watches, your health data, your carbon credits, your solar credits, your time here with me could be a token which you can then give to somebody and they can purchase it. So really it's building overall knowledge around what these technologies are, what can it do to your industry, how you can benefit, and how the industries are interconnected. Doesn't mean you will do something about it, but I think that building that curiosity and awareness is really important. I'm publishing a book in September, which is called Andrea Data's Kitchen. I cook a lot and I love it. Like in every kitchen, you have ingredients is like your, flour, salt and pepper, whatever, meat. Then you have some tools, right? Your knives and your chopping board. And then you have some methods, steaming, grilling, and so on. So the same is with data, right? And blockchain and whatever. So you have your healthcare data, biometric data, transaction data, weather data, whatever, right? Then you have the tools, which are your satellites, your watches, your cars, your fridges, your IT devices. And then you have the fine-tuning, training, machine learning, whatever. So I'm looking at that in different industries for SMEs. Like if you go to a hairdresser, like we both are beautiful women, so we go to a hairdresser. So you look at it and say, maybe next time when you go, think about me and say, okay, if you go to a hairdresser for a really long time, what is all the data they know about you, right? And they never use. And if they would use some different types of AI mechanism, doesn't need to be agentic, can be simple machine learning, combination of, transactional data, IoT devices, whatever it is. What if they would start to use the data? How much better would be your experience? How much better would be their business? And now if you take it to a different level, what if you would start to add some data, for example, smart mirrors, right? Or anything. So I'm looking at, how can you combine these things across, industries and bring it together in a much more natural way. And I think BrainGym is also really trying to do the same. I'm not trying to force you to use blockchain, but I wish that if you run a company, you actually know how it works and what is behind it, because there's so much of stuff everywhere that you can create your own opinion about it.
Yeah, it's so important to bring that awareness to those that are running organizations, the decision makers and employees as well, just to get them all on the same page. We've talked a lot about wellness and technology. How do you balance technological advancements with the well-being of individuals and communities? Where do you think that's going?
What do you mean exactly by that question? What is on your mind when you would describe it for yourself?
When we talked about kids being on devices, right?
Yes.
And your new company will look at that kind of moderation of it. But then there's the element of, where is technology taking over our well-being too much versus us not using technology to get there?
Let's look at the technology too much, and there I feel it's not enough. Right? So too much, I think it's social media. I think it's really something where all the algorithm aside, it's really addictive, right? I can see it. I can see it on myself. I can see
Scrolling.
it's like really on my children. You get really irritated. You get really overstimulated, and I think that there is no responsibility behind these algorithms. Zero. No matter what everybody says, there is zero responsibility on that. And I think that's a real misuse of AI, because I think it was a podcast I listened to yesterday about a professor who was analyzing what brands like Sephora is doing with young girls, right? And how they market, where you have all these shelves and TikToks and Instagrams, which are targeting the girls from the age of 12 with products and routines. And this is unnecessary. And if their technology wouldn't be there, it wouldn't be possible. The filters, and so all of these things, I think it's really harming mentally, in this case young girls, right? So I think that's part where I don't think we should go that path. Obviously people want to make more money and they are going that path. On the other side, where I don't think it's enough, because obviously it doesn't make money but it could save us money, it's interconnected of data for people, right? I made an example the other day when I gave a keynote, is my dad had bypass. He had it on time just before he had a heart attack, because he was in a bit of pain. As every man, he would not go to the hospital. Luckily my mom kicked him and said, you have to go. So he went. They discovered that three of his arteries two were like completely, one was completely blocked, two were like around to be blocked, so he had to go under knife. Long story short, if he would have a device, he would have known that his heart is already doing something really crazy.
Yeah.
That device can be interconnected to a hospital, to his insurance, which would say, Karel, which is the name of my dad, you have to go. We already made an appointment for you. This data is not looking good. If you will not come to the hospital, because this indicates you could have a heart attack in the next 7 days, we will not pay any insurance.
Wow.
You know, I want things like that. I want interconnection where we can take care of people where before they even know it. And you don't want people, not everybody is an expert. If my dad would have the, let's say, Whoop or whatever, or the Ring or whatever, he would not probably know how to analyze the data, and probably he would even forget to look at it. But if the device, if that IoT is interconnected to an institution which actually deeply can analyze the data, and they even would benefit of it because they would have such a great data collection, they could start to have some predictability of what's happening to people according to age, their diet, and whatever it is. They could prevent. And I think in UAE, 36% of deaths are because of heart attack.
Wow.
Yeah. So imagine you could decrease it by 20%. So there is so much of run after profits with the technology. I think that we should pause. I'm not sure it will go there. It's a really $1 million question. And say, what is good for humanity? The human-centered design, where should we actually really use it? And, people say insurance that, but we can't do it. This is like a infringement. I will be very happy to give you my data if you can save my life.
Yeah.
Right? If you can save life of my children, if you can save life of my husband, my parents, please, here we go. I can't do anything with my data, but you can. You can save me. And I think that's the area where you ask me where it will go. I would more say where I want it to go.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it will necessarily go there, and really use it for much more research and faster development of drugs. And I think that there is so much we can do, which I hope this will really happen.
Yeah.
But the whole what's happening on the retail side, I think it's really scary.
You're right to say where you want it to go. Like, you'll consent for your data to be used if it's used for the right reasons.
Exactly.
And not for the wrong reasons. And we need to get that level of trust and comfort that healthcare providers or insurance companies will use it for the right reasons.
I like what you said, because of course then they could penalize you, right? But on the other side, you can also say, if you, with the weight loss drugs, it's a great example right now, which it's a really incredible innovation. I think it will save many lives, right? But it's a very important to do it in connection to something. You can't just obviously use the drug and then just, enjoy being skinny, right? Because the moment you stop, you're losing your muscle, your bone density is impacted, there's so many things. Your mental health can be impacted. But now if the insurance says, I do it and I will pay for it if I see a proof on your device that you exercise 4 times a week.
Oh, yeah.
That I can see on your blood work that your cholesterol, not cholesterol is a wrong example. No, I'm taking that back. But your other markers, because you need cholesterol for your brain to function, right? It needs to supply the fat in the brain. Your other markers improved. I give you a very practical example. I have 2 really close friends in Czech Republic, and they really wonderful. One is my cousin and second is her friend. And they came to visit me here in Dubai. They saw, I'm a bit a freak, right? Do healthy eating, exercising, and so on. And now for 3 months already, we're running these monthly, we are on season 3, like Sex and the City, but we are on season 3. Every day we have an exercise, which we post on a WhatsApp, and they now started to do monitoring of their vitals and biomarkers. And today, one of them posted the next biomarkers. And you could see the change in the fat content of her body, the weight going down, the muscle mass increasing. So insurance could do the same. And obviously they're also happy, right? It's going slowly, but it goes because they are dedicated. So if I give you this drug, I need to see on your data that your muscle mass is increasing, that your fat is going down, that your blood work is better. You can do all of it with data and AI. It's so powerful. it's magical. It's really
Yeah.
magical.
Such a valuable point to go that way. So you've got your own podcast, or you have set up your own podcast before, Space Uncensored.
Uncensored.
How did you go down that path? Where did that come
Oh my
from? What
God,
does
you
it
know, like
cover?
many things in my life just by coincidence. So 3 years ago at work, I met a colleague of mine. Her name is Inavanka. She's based in the United States and she's a massive space buff and AI buff. She's really, really smart woman. I have a lot of respect towards her. And she ran a project in Mastercard with the NYU where they did ideations with students how future experiences and payments will be when you do space travel. And I found it was absolutely fascinating. Similar to sustainability, never been into space industry.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I need to figure this out. What is this whole new space economy about? I went to MIT again, did like a course on new space economy. And originally, Ina and I started it together, but then she focused on something else, and I maintained the podcast. And I discovered that similar to AI, exactly what you're doing now, and I applaud you for it. There is, not enough women being invited in podcast to speak about space. And this is not just, going to space, right? These are not only astronauts, these are engineers, which are doctors. I had two doctors on my podcast who looking at prenatal care for space. Incredible. So I just thought, if I can contribute a little bit and give them some voice, I don't have big following, but if I can give them some voice to talk about this incredible work they're doing. My last recording with was a lady called Elizabeth Schneider, who 4 years ago, and she's, over 60, started a company doing travel experiences in Space Kennedy Center. She's incredible. Her grandfather built his own telescope. You have people on it which are just absolutely incredible. So I'm just humbled by the opportunity, as you know, you're not building the next Burj Khalifa. So from an effort perspective, yeah, it takes some, but the same way you gave opportunity to me to come here today to talk to you and to get some airtime, I'm really grateful, and I hope if I can have it for the women in space. But I'm venturing a little bit out. I think that I will now extend the space to also medical experts for women in menopause and perimenopause, because I think that's really needed as well. So that's why it's Space Uncensored. So it go everywhere in the space and
Any kind of
multiverse. Right?
space.
But I think so far I had like 20 guests
Wow.
on my podcast.
I love it how you're always driving for impact and just to really put that human first, regardless of what aspect it is. It's really
thank you.
commendable that you go down that path. We've talked a lot about women and the need for diversity, especially diversity in STEM. How can we encourage more women to pursue careers in STEM fields and particularly get engaged? And we've been talking recently about kind of not seeing enough women on stage or not seeing enough women being represented. What do you think needs to happen to make that change?
So, the usual answer would be school. My answer is mothers. I think we are failing with the mothers, right? I feel that besides of the very obvious, how can you support more STEM education and projects at school, which is something which the school system, the IB system, or whatever system you're in, the ministries can influence and should influence, right? I think there should be programs for mothers and mothers of girls. Because I think it's very critical that maybe the mothers never saw STEM as an opportunity. So they don't see that for their daughters. And if, my son wants to be astrophysicist, the second wants to be a chef, right? And the one knows it from a really early age. But that's a real rarity. Until today, I'm 52 almost. I still don't know what I will do in 10 years. Yeah. So, I'm all over the place. Some people really know what they're born to do, like doctors or nurses. They have this calling. Many people don't. And if you as a mother don't see STEM as the function for the girls to be in, you will not expose your daughter maybe to it, right? In after school activities, in projects, and challenge her to maybe try. So I really feel that schools and ministries really important. But what are we doing about the mothers and obviously the fathers as well, but the mothers to say, just because I didn't do it, why don't you do it? Why don't you think you can invent something, be an astrophysicist, or be a data scientist, work with no code applications and create your own business. I think that's, I see the issue is in that side as well. And, we always try for the school to solve problems for us as parents. And I think we need to rethink and we need more education.
I've had a lot of conversations about diversity and how we get to the state that we want to be in. And it's the first time I've ever heard someone say, bring it back to the mothers. That was a nice point that kind of hit home as well. Like, be that representation that you want your children to be in as well, and show that representation. So that was a very good point. So thank you for that. So I want to deep dive into a bit of leadership. You've been in leadership roles yourself. You've obviously very passionate about learning, not just learning for yourself, but teaching people as well and making sure that they're on a learning journey and what legacy you want to leave behind. So how has your leadership style evolved over the years, and what principles guide you in leadership?
You should ask the people who used to work for me. I think in the beginning I was quite a brutal dictator. When I think about it now, I started my first team I managed in 1994. I was a deputy branch manager in Czech Republic in a small branch. Let me maybe translate it a little bit in a sense that I really want people to deliver and deliver on time. I have very little patience until today. I'm trying to, hide it sometimes, my frustrations. I got better. But my team always say, I should not show my face because my face, I don't need to speak. My eyes, I just say it. It says it all, right? The excitement, the
No poker
disappointment.
face.
It's no poker face. So what it really changed for me is working through these many. I was so privileged that I worked obviously in Czech Republic. Lived in Austria for 5 years, where I managed 11 markets in Central Eastern Europe, which culturally are very similar. But when I moved to Slovakia, I moved to Indonesia. Then I lived in Africa for almost for 9 years. Managed Zimbabwe, Zambia, Tanzania, Botswana, Mozambique. Then here with all the cultures, and I think that really gives you a lesson. And I'm learning every single day still. So I think that my style is I'm very open. I am very demanding. I let you do things, and I want you to learn things. I like humor in workplace. I really like it. They always tell me I'm making bad jokes and I shouldn't joke, and that it undermines my seniority. I heard that so often that if you so on a certain level, you shouldn't, be these jokes. And people would come to me and say, "We didn't know you're a senior vice president. You're so different." And I thought it's a real compliment. That means that, everybody who goes line up, they feel like, there is a certain vanity around it. I think one thing which I really miss after leaving Mastercard is my team. I really miss that kind of human connection. So I am definitely not a perfect leader. I never met one yet, but I'm learning every time. And that people have the guts to tell you that you did something wrong and that they don't like the way what you said and how you did it. I think that's really critical, that they should be comfortable with saying, what, this was just really hurtful. You shouldn't have reacted this way. Why did you lose your marbles so much? Is this just like unnecessary? Because we all humans, right? This is why, like with children, you can read every single leadership book. When the situation occurs, blank canvas.
Yeah.
You forget everything, right? I remember I went to Harvard in 2015 or 16 on a leadership course, which was based on Bill George, Finding Your Truth North. That was a really interesting experience because it looked at your leadership from a different perspective. You were put in groups of 6. You lived together. I mean, obviously everybody had their own room, but you had like a shared space. And every afternoon you would be working through. You took your history from the time you were, going to school. What happened to you during your lifetime, which impacted who is the leader you are today? And that was really interesting to connect it back, my relationship with my dad at school and, things which happened to my life. I never looked at my leadership scars from that lens. And I think that was really, really awesome.
But that is interesting when you look back.
It is. But I learn every day.
I love it. And just as we wrap up today, I have one last question for you. Can you give me in a sentence your vision for the future of technology? Is that possible, Andrea?
You just spoke to me like almost an hour. It's almost impossible for me to put something into like one sentence. I don't know what will happen. I don't have a crystal ball. What I would want to happen is really to utilize it for humanity. I would like for the children of the future and for my kids to have a personalized education and personalized healthcare. And I wish that there will be a lot of legislation for governments to look at AI. How do they save the humans impacted by AI? Because that, I think, it's a massive problem in going.
Thank you.
I
You
made
did it.
one sentence without going like into 15 minutes.
It was amazing having you on the show today. Thank you so much for sharing all your insights with us.
Thank you, Emma. It was delightful, and thank you for giving me the airtime.
That's it for today's episode of AI Trust Talks. I hope this conversation has sparked new insights and empowered you to think critically about the role of AI in our lives. Together, we have the power to shape the future where technology serves humanity responsibly and ethically. If you have found this episode valuable, don't forget to subscribe, share, and join the conversation. Your voice matters in building a trusted AI future. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and let's keep building trust in technology, one conversation at a time.